How did you find this, Dwight?
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil too much for an upcoming episodes question mark that we're going to be doing. But long story short, for whatever reason, I was trying to find this a little bit of research on the one of the subjects we're going to talk about, and I found this website, which for whatever reason, this just looks like it was made for Chris, which is LindberghKidnappingHoax.com, which is somebody that's got an axe to fucking grind from easily, events that happened nearly 90 years ago. and I don't quite understand and it's all in Comic Sans.
Well, it's not all in Comic Sans. That's what's great. It's partially in Comic Sans and partially in like Times New Roman and an Arial, and it's like a cream beige background, then with like all the blue hyperlinks. This is very like
looks like baby shit to me. The color
made my website in 1999. It's incredible.
I really like the scrolling marquee at the top that says Richard Hauptmann was murdered by Justice 84 years ago. Justice is in quotation.
And all the whatever, the top menu, all the things are like highlighted in different colors.
It's a great website.
Whoa. The bottom it says copyright Lindbergh Kidnapping Hoax 1998 to 2021, meaning that presumably this website has been updated recently.
Oh,
like, this
dude,
if you click from the 90s.
If you click the he did it button image, it links you to the YouTube, and there's like stuff from in the past year.
I was just gonna say that this is amazing.
Yeah.
And honestly, the person who runs this site, Ronelle Delmont, she's 100% right. I think. I think it's a case of the website looking really like kooky and weird, and it's actually what are these swastikas?
No. I knew it.
Well, it's probably
I knew it.
It's saying
Lindbergh.
The Lindberghs.
Yeah, because he was a Nazi. Yeah.
But there does seem to be some consensus that it didn't actually go the way they said it did. The cops lied.
I like this. At the bottom it says, and so Charles Lindbergh, Mason, eugenicist, social misfit, and sadistic prankster, emerges as the most likely suspect. Like, this is an indictment. Like, this is like a step-by-step indictment about, what was the deal? Like, the baby was stolen or something? There was
it was a ransom, and then the child was killed.
It was a big like media event.
Back
what, in the 20s or 30s? It was like one of the first. It was like a national true crime kind of manhunt type spectacle.
I like their list of books. I'm looking. I guess this is like their list of sources or whatever. But like at the top of the list is The Plot Against America, which is a novel by Philip Roth.
That's interesting.
Oh, this is good. In this section, was Charles Lindbergh really an anti-Semite? In spite of recent reappraisals by family-authorized writer Scott Berg, youngest daughter Reeve Lindbergh, and the most unlikely of all apologists, Steven Spielberg, many people still believe Charles Lindbergh was nothing less than an unrepentant pro-Nazi anti-Semite. Most likely that's because he was. I would say. That's probably why that remains the public perception. But, I haven't done the research. I haven't clicked on all the blue links here.
Yeah, that's not like a controversial thing. I think it's like well established in his history that he was like extremely anti-Semitic.
Yes.
J. Edgar Hoover, if I'm not mistaken, was tangentially involved directly
in the baby
Lindbergh.
Yeah, he did it.
Yes.
He did it.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Good to know.
All right, yeah.
We can make blind, accusations for
what
people
are they
that
gonna
have
do
done it
about
for
it?
decades,
You can definitely do that.
Me?
Yeah.
No, it
fine.
wouldn't be me.
You're
Couldn't be me. Wow, he was J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the, quote, Alien Enemy Bureau, monitoring activities of Germans in the United States.
That's right.
Oh, buddy. I wonder where that squared in, like, the business plot or something like that, if they were at all concerned with that sort of, anti-democratic moves or not.
I'm going to guess not.
I'm going to guess not, too. It's nice to see with, like, a website like this that, like, crankdom is alive and well.
Sure,
in 2021 in a very, very specific way.
This gives me like Time Cube vibes. It's got that same kind of sprawling, like first to the internet kind of aesthetic. and it seems to have a similar disposition.
You remember Angel Fire?
Yeah, of course. This looks like my Angel Fire website from when I was like 13 and obsessed with UFOs. Angel Fire, GeoCities, those were like the early like web hosting things where anybody could make a website for free.
Yeah.
So I had an Angel Fire page that looked very similar to this. You get that like fuchsia color as the background, You got to have it.
I had a Zanga. Did you guys have Zanga?
Wow. I did have
Probably
a Zanga.
When I was in middle school. That was like my first foray into, I guess, a proto social media type site.
Sure.
That's so wild. I never got into that. I literally had never posted anything like publicly on social media or whatever on the internet like that until getting on Twitter.
Really? As soon as I realized that I could like put my deranged thoughts into the world, I was like, I have to do that. Like I definitely have like tens of thousands of words on like LiveJournal, for example, of just like really weird stuff.
I when I was like a little kid, I remember probably around 10, I was on like some website that was like communism.com or something. There was like a forum
hilarious.
there. It was that, and then like video game forums, where people would trade tips and strategies and like cheats and stuff. So that was kind of a good forecast for the rest of my life, I suppose.
Communism.com is for sale. You can buy communism.com.
How much?
Well, this on the website itself, it's suggesting a price of $325,000, which seems a bit steep for my budget.
I'll just buy it. I can afford that.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We should do like
we'll
a
just bill it
GoFundMe.
to the show.
Stretch goal for the Patreon. We'll buy communism.com.
Wow. Even communism.xyz is going for $2,700.
What about communism.gov?
In the next 5 years, a major corporation is going to buy that website and make a whole site that's like a new vision of communism. Good communism.
I'm surprised that it's not already owned by some dark money group that like redirects you to the Federalist or something.
Yeah.
The Victims of Communism Memorial would buy it, but they can't afford it.
Epic Times or something like that would just buy it.
He, who was in it? Apparently, on the advisory board for the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation, who recently left us. Bob Dole.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
What was his big? I'm sorry, I just got so fucking distracted by something. Well, I'll talk about it in a second. But what was his deal? He was like just totally in bed with big tobacco, and he constantly pushed away legislation to regulate them.
He killed the Lindbergh baby.
He was like a baby. So it was like a baby fight.
That's how evil he was.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, he was born in 1923.
He was old, dude. He was very, very old.
Old as shit.
Yeah.
Well, now he's in hell.
He was extremely he had a big presence. He was like such a weird figure I remember in the 90s, like, when we were younger, and he ended up like making his way into a lot of our pop culture, whether that was from like SNL or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
Wasn't he on The Simpsons a lot?
Yeah, he was sort of the butt of a lot of jokes because he he had the '96 presidential campaign against Clinton, right. And he was boring and like awful on the national. Like he had no charisma or whatever. Of course, now that he's dead, he's being turned into some kind of magnanimous statesman or representative of like the old style of republicanism or blah blah blah. But he was a fucking Trump supporter, so even in his like whatever withering 90s or however fucking old he was.
Why?
He got to live a nice full life, huh?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Like why become like in his 90s become like an open Trump supporter?
I think he was like a Jeb Bush guy, and then he moved to Trump. I don't know if it was during the primary or during the general, but like all of them, they all their various protests and blah, blah, blah. Most of the, mainstream Republican Party just went in lockstep behind Trump, certainly once he was president. And now it's like, they're all on the Trump train forever.
Yes. I just put into the Discord the thing that I was reminded of by whatever communism.com or whatever, which was the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. I don't know if you guys have been familiar with this. Oh, yeah. No. I had been
the Pope!
dying.
The Pope is here!
Yes. It's so our good friend Mark Benioff is in fact part of this as well.
Oh, excellent.
Oh,
it's really, but of course that was like part of his whole shtick, right?
Yeah.
With
BP
stakeholder
is on
capitalism, right?
Who's on there?
BP, the oil company.
Good, yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, too, and I'm gonna try to it was a member of the Rothschild family that would like spearheaded it. That's right.
Oh, boy.
Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, Inclusive Capital Partners that's her company. Literally, I'm just reading here. Lynn Forrester de Rothschild is a founding and managing partner of Inclusive Capital Partners, an investment manager for the $1.5 billion Spring Fund that seeks positively differentiated returns by deploying its governance skills and value investment discipline to improve environmental and societal performance of the businesses in which it invests.
Wait, this is just an investment fund.
Yeah.
It says they manage $10.5 trillion in assets.
This is so weird. It says, this seems new, because when we started the show, I had found this. And I was like, I always kind of like wanted to talk about this. And then just, we got, had a lot of other things to talk about or whatever. But this has changed recently where there's the Coalition for Inclusive Capitalism and the Council for Inclusive Capitalism with the Vatican. And is there? I'm just
is that like a split like that happens in like radical left parties? It's like a factional split. Where
these are the Trotskyites.
These are the Franciscans who have allied with the Vatican.
Yeah, I think they're like have partnered with the Vatican.
Good. I would love to do a episode one day on the Vatican.
Oh my god.
We'll see.
Well, oh my god, no. Yeah, she wrote here, and this is a quote from her. It says, this is His Holiness Pope Francis said, "What is required now are concrete ideas and decisive actions that will benefit all people and that will begin to respond to the pressing issues of our day." That's a direct quote from him. And then Lady Lynn Forrester de Rothschild has been quoted as saying, "We have accepted the challenge from Pope Francis to create concrete actions which will move us towards a more inclusive capitalism." Which is, man, they are just really stretching it. I mean, okay, let's just attack it intellectually for a second, because the defining feature of capitalism is its exclusivity. Is the exclusion of workers from the decision-making processes around, what to do with profits and what to do with, any of the business activities in a political economy, whatever. That's the defining feature, is its exclusivity. Yeah. And so even academically, just like in the name, it's the lie. The lie is in the name by calling it the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. It's I totally forgot that I had forgotten about this. I think if I'm not mistaken too, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. too was involved, and as well as, oh god, I can't do it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to discuss green capitalism. It's just it's really funny how much like the ESG shit, the environmental social governance, is that what it is? Environmental social and governance, movement is just co-opting of certain, movements to say, hey, we understand that the world is dying and then people are suffering and all that stuff. But
full stop. We understand. That's all it is. Yeah.
This is not useful information, but I went to their members page and one of them is named Edward Cullen, like from Twilight.
That's really funny.
I just thought that was funny.
Vampires though.
Yeah.
Vampires, hardcore capitalists.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Nobody knew that.
I think of vampires are probably more like feudalists or like monarchists, right?
Yeah.
I get real like medieval vibes, the aristocracy, the nobility from vampires. I wouldn't really consider them capitalists.
I think maybe it depends on the type of vampire as well.
Okay.
If you have like a type of vampire that needs to slumber for like long periods of time and it's like an unpredictable like length of slumber, then that's going to be a much more like community-based configuration of vampires where they have to like depend on each other. Why am I saying this?
Well, actually,
let's consider that.
I don't know, because I think even still, right? Like the whole idea then of a slumbering vampire. Usually they're entombed in some kind of like castle or some.
They need a lot of help.
Yeah, there's a hierarchical nature to it. Like who gets to slumber for 1,000 years and who has to toil to protect the sanctum or whatever.
99% of the slumber is being done.
The top 1% of vampires.
It's particularly exploitative, and when they're sleeping, they're sitting there in their coffins doing nothing.
Is it such a radical idea to take 1,000-year snooze?
I guess like the whole implication of like the idea of a vampire castle is that there's some kind of exploitation involved there. Like, how do you get to own a castle?
Right.
It's
There's
not
serfs
a co-op.
toiling.
Yeah. All right.
Serfs are toiling somewhere for that castle.
I take back my misplaced defense of vampires as communal creatures.
I think we can all agree that Lynn de Rothschild is a vampire.
That's right.
You got to take a look at this guy. Hang on. I put it in the Discord. Check out Thomas Casey, Discussion Partner Collaborative LLC. Fuck.
He kind of looks like Mitch McConnell.
He does.
He's got that like turtle face, yeah.
Fuck, yeah. What is this guy's?
What a perfect turtle boy. Let's find more pictures of him.
He was a colonel. Oh, in the Army Reserve. Interesting.
No respect.
No. Tom presently maintains residences in both the United States and Peru. Very interesting, Thomas Casey. Tell me your crimes.
And he's also on Twitter.
Oh, buddy. What's his at?
Tom G. Casey. No, I actually don't think that's the same Tom Casey.
Isn't it?
Don't harass Tom G. Casey.
I don't know.
It could be. The teeth look the same. That looks like it could be a young picture of him. We'll have to do some forensic investigation here before we harass this guy.
Was Tom Casey involved in the Lindbergh baby kidnapping plot?
It's impossible to say.
Who knows?
A lot of people are asking about it.
Yes, this Tom Casey doesn't look anything like the other Tom Casey they were talking about, and this is clearly like a boys soccer coach in the UK.
Well, he is British, so...
Fuck, that alone is...
It's damning.
I don't know. What's worse, being in the Army Reserve as a colonel or being British? It's tough.
Sound off in the comments.
Speaking of British, I wanted to get this in somewhere, and here's a tangential enough segue to fit it in somewhere. But a couple weeks ago, me and Carrie watched the HBO miniseries John Adams from like 2008 with Paul Giamatti.
Oh,
and
very weird.
I had totally like just fucking like memory hold that had even existed, and I was like stumbling around and I saw it, and I saw the poster with Giamatti's face on it. It just said, John Adams. And I was like, easily done. Next show. That's what I'm watching. And we watched through it. And there's not that much to say about it. It's like fine as a historical drama coming from the perspective that it does. Obviously, it venerates Adams and shows him as a statesman in the Revolutionary War and, then his administration and stuff. But like aesthetically, the show is so fucked up.
Jesus.
Because it's like they do, like, first of all, like on a cinematography level, like there is so many canted angles, like every shot is a Dutch angle, as if it's trying to set up some sort of like there's gonna be like tension, and most of it is just like procedural, like people talking in small offices. But the other thing is like the attention to detail, like historical detail, is so like weird and specific. So like everybody has like shitty teeth.
I just sent the picture.
Everybody has like incredibly blackened teeth as they get older, which is like probably reflective of what it would look like, but it's very distracting. And also everybody affects this weird accent.
It's apparently a period accurate accent that they're doing, but I think that they must have had like speech coaches to help them do it, and not everybody really gets it, and some of them kind of like go in and out of it, and it's very confusing and weird.
That is very weird.
So everybody looks like shit, sounds ridiculous, the angles are all fucked up. It's a very disorienting show.
This was I remember when this was being made, because it was filmed in Richmond, Virginia, and like around Richmond
really?
in large part. Yeah, and I they were doing like open casting calls. I knew friends who were like extras on this series. I was not in this one, but I was in Turn on AMC, which was also filmed in Richmond. Basically anything, any like kind of like colonial era, like sort of type stuff. They like always are like early type American history. They always film stuff like that a lot of the time in Richmond or around that area.
I feel like I remember you mentioning being in Turn, like around the time we first met. Was there a picture of you in it as well?
Oh yeah. There's several. Yeah. I was a drunken bystander. And also a red coat. I was in a few different scenes, but I was that
last night actually.
Drunken bystander was what my I guess name was or whatever.
I'm like trying to find a picture of you.
Is there any pictures of you available for this?
I thought I remembered you showing me a picture of you dressed as a red coat.
You definitely.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine it would be, kind of, besides the toil of, going through it, and a lot of times it can suck to be an extra on a thing like that. It's
awful.
It's kind of fun to dress up and stuff, but usually extras are treated not quite great.
Well, we had one scene where we were filming in Petersburg, Virginia, which is outside of Richmond, and it was just snowing out, and
damn,
but by the end of the scene, we had basically just like snow accumulating on us, like those of us who were like stationary for the scene.
That's awful.
Fucking freezing.
Really miserable in period costumes that are not in any way warm, or like designed for warmth.
That's fucked. Yeah. Again, the maltreatment of extras as it tends to happen. God damn.
Yeah, there's not enough. We were like talking about like, should we like do an episode on this? And it's just it's not really worth going through in too much detail, but it's just so funny to see, for me at least, to see Paul Giamatti. Like he just looks like shit, and he's got this weird accent, and he's always angry, and he's just like, "Good day, sir!" Like the whole fucking thing. And the guy who directed it, Tom Hooper, I guess like after this, he did like musicals. So he did the Les Mis film adaptation.
Oh, wow.
And then
I actually
most
like
recently, he did Cats. So kind of a weird...
Wait, he did Cats?
Yeah,
hilarious.
He directed Cats.
Oh my God, what a career.
Yeah, really.
What a career.
Really great stuff. Yeah, we were just laughing so much while we were watching. The guy who plays Jefferson is the guy who plays Stannis on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And the whole last episode, one thing that is funny to talk about. The last episode, so apparently like Adams and Jeffersons, they were political enemies. They'd worked in the same cabinets, they ran against each other, blah blah blah. But they'd also been like long-term friends before that. Then they had this like big falling out when Adams lost to Jefferson and he became president. And then like way after that, like I guess everybody else in their immediate circle had died. All their other friends, and they both lived like incredibly long lives. And they started up a correspondence again in later life. And they died on the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So
really,
on July 4th, whatever day that is, and like according to my surface reading the history of this, it is like true, or at least alleged, that they died within like hours of each other, even though they were in, he was in I guess like Massachusetts or New England, and then Jefferson was in Virginia. But in the show, they show both of them dying, and they have like all the old man makeup on, and it's a really long sequence where they're both like lying in bed, and they both also have like marble busts of each other in their house. So they're like looking at the marble busts and like shaking and croaking, and Jefferson is going, Adams, and Adams is going, Jefferson. And it cuts back and forth between both of them, and then they just fucking die, and that's like the end of the thing. And there's no real like point or perspective
it's so good,
to the
though.
show.
It's so funny.
Like there's, a lot of times in, I watch a lot of historical drama and stuff, and history is always retold for particular purposes in the moment that it is, right? And it's when it's done well, or even if it's done to articulate a political point that I disagree with or whatever, it's resuscitated with intention. It's like we're looking back on this and we're sort of reframing these things that happened in a particular light to make a certain point, right? But with
the masculine urge to die with your frenemy.
Yeah, but with the Addams thing, with the miniseries, it didn't really seem to have a point because he just like kind of failed at everything, and there was never really like a denouement of like, this is the legacy of John Adams, with the exception of the general sense of he was there too, and he's not talked about as much.
I think the point was just
Dagobah?
like dudes rock. Like they have this beautiful friendship.
Yeah, I guess
they just
Yeah.
Can I learn that word? What, the Dagobah?
Dagobah? No,
What?
that's where Luke goes to meet Yoda and get his Jedi training.
And that's where Jefferson was born.
No. A denouement is like
How do you spell that?
DENOUEMENT.
denouement.
Yeah, it's like
Buddy, let me tell you what I've been thinking that was for my entire life until this moment.
It's
denouement or some shit. I was just like, when anytime I saw it, I was just like, well,
I might be pronouncing it wrong. I don't know, but it's like sort of like an epilogue, like a purposeful afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
The part of a story at the end where there's like a conclusion that like ties the threads together, something that like explains what is important. I mean, it's done shittily in a lot of stories and movies, where like somebody looks into the camera and is like, he really was a statesman or whatever.
Look at that picture of Chris.
Oh, there he is.
I can't believe it. That's such a good picture of you.
That's
too.
me next to star of screen and stage Angus McFadden, who was really funny because he was like a stereotype of like a pampered actor on set. He was like a just awful like difficult pampered person to work with, and it was very very funny.
What year was that you were
I
in
guess
this
that
again?
was in. I guess that would have been in 2014, late 2013, early 2014,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah,
because I was going to
Can't be understated what a handsome guy you are, Chris.
Oh,
We'll
What
never,
a handsome boy.
Never miss an opportunity to say that.
I was just going to say it's funny then that Angus McFadden was a dick because at that point he had already been in Saw 3. So
yeah.
a little late to have some to put on airs about being an actor, I believe. But
hey, the Saw franchise is really good.
The Saw franchise is a franchise that we have watched the entirety
franchise.
of. That I will agree with you on.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good day, sir.
It's worth if you like Paul Giamatti in particular. It's definitely worth, if not watching the whole show, which is goes in and out of being sort of boring. There are some funny clips of him, like if you just go on YouTube and you look up Giamatti, John Adams, like at the Continental Congress and shit. It's it's so weird. The accents are so weird.
I was afraid to say it because I didn't want to be, lambasted for it, but I have seen many clips on YouTube of that program, and I feel like that's sufficient.
Why specifically have you seen many clips of this program? Were you like looking them up?
If I told everybody how many clips of this and that I've seen on YouTube, it's too much to mention.
I love that you like don't watch anything, but you apparently have like dedicated periods where you just like search for clips of things.
And it's not even necessarily the search. It might just come about and then I kind of follow it. You can kind of see like, oh, this is part 1, part 2, part 3. That's
oh
that
my
sort of
god!
Thing. And then I'll go through that. Oh
my god! What a dapper lad! Look at that. That's a wonderful picture. I love that.
I wish we could use this as the episode art.
Oh, you can use it as the episode art.
That's great.
That's so good.
I think I'm allowed to post that now. They specifically told us we couldn't post any pictures, but whatever.
Oh,
you should post it and tag them and ask them what they're going to do about it.
Posting pictures of your
at
canceled
AMC.
TV show.
Colonial Chris. That's awesome. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I've just been tethered right back down to fucking terror here. Chris, did you get did those storms come through last night for you?
It was really, I mean, yeah, we definitely got thunderstorms at some point, like kind of real late. But no, it was like when I went to sleep at like midnight, it was weird because it was like 72 degrees. Like after having been cold earlier in the day. But like, yeah, when I went to sleep at night, it was like it was very warm and like very windy also. And like, yeah, you could kind of feel the storm coming in. I went to sleep before it happened. There was at least one tornado that I believe touched down in the Nashville area.
Damn.
But no, we were, I guess, pretty lucky compared to Kentucky.
Fucking, like, I just don't remember, except for maybe like the Moore tornado in Moore, Oklahoma. Remember that one that was like an F5 that was just like insane a few years ago? But I just don't remember, especially in December, there being just one set of storms that blew through the country that killed, over 100 people. That seems a little unprecedented to me. And did I see correctly? Did you post this in the DM earlier, Chris, about how it had gone like across 3 states? It went for 250. One of them went for 250 miles.
Yeah, well, I saw that. The thing I posted was that because I was looking at like the list of the most deadly tornadoes on record in the United States prior to this, and all of them were between April and June.
Yikes! Let alone fucking December.
Yeah.
And then I was looking at these pictures of the Amazon warehouse in Illinois. That was, I think it's like east of St. Louis. Yeah, here where it got directly hit by a tornado and 6 people died. I mean, I'm looking at the pictures and the whole thing's just like gone. There's a New York Times article, just because they're doing like live updates and shit. But it says here, at least 6 people were killed at an Amazon warehouse in Illinois after direct hit from a tornado caused a major portion of the building to collapse. 45 people were confirmed to have made it out of the building. However, it says here, there's a lot of debris from the concrete that's predominantly steel and concrete structure. Emergency responders received an initial call at 8:38 p.m. and arrived several minutes later with about 100 responders on scene shortly after the building collapsed. That's fucking crazy.
Jesus Christ.
I've never been in a tornado. I've been in like microbursts and that sort of thing. But this just seems like it was fucking crazy last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a 94-year-old woman died in a nursing home.
There's a link. There's a link to donate that I saw. I was just looking it up so I could put it in Discord. We could put it in the Patreon description to donate to the Amazon workers.
Yes.
Like a tornado fund.
The fact that we even need to like think about doing that is just so depraved.
Right, like Jeff Bezos could just like.
Yeah, he could just buy. He could pay for their great-grandchildren's inheritances.
Yeah.
Like, without even denting his net worth.
Yeah.
But fucking 70 people killed. It just seems so insane. And even now, like, the storm system is coming through right now, here in New York. And I don't know if it is in the same thing in Philly, but it's, like, really windy and the clouds are moving extremely quickly. Like, I knew that this, like, storm system would come through, but it's just, like, all wind here. I don't know. I feel so badly for, Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, and Tennessee were hit by tornadoes, all from the same single storm. God. That's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
There was, I was looking something up earlier today and, thinking about climate change and infrastructure and all that shit. And I came across a ProPublica article I kind of wanted to read from, which is really interesting. It came out this week by Topher Sanders, saying storm drains keep swallowing people during floods.
What?
And I was like, what the fuck? It says an alarming number of people, especially children, have drowned after disappearing into storm drains during floods. The deadly problem should be easy for federal, state, and local government agencies to fix, but tragedy strikes again and again. And I was like, what the fuck? So I read through this, and I'd love to read part of it to you guys.
Sure.
It reads as follows. On the night of September 1st, Danush Reddy and his fiancée, Kavya Mandley, were returning home from a North Jersey mall when the remains of Hurricane Ida turned their drive perilous. And remember this was fucking crazy when that came through. Rain pounded down, soaked the streets, and with so much water that cars stalled and police shut down traffic. They felt their own car rattling, and they abandoned it in a nearby lot. Decided they walked to safer ground when Mandley's brother could pick them up. They waded hand in hand into murky water, oh my God, until we reached the middle point of the road where it just sucked us both inside. They were immediately suddenly underwater, being pulled toward a large black vacuum that seemed to be guzzling anything and anything into its wide open mouth. Manley managed to grab part of a bridge railing, but Reddy clutched only her hand. She shouted for help as she tried to wrest her fiancé from the vortex, but it was just too wet, too slippery. Reddy disappeared, and Manley was left holding his empty jacket. Jesus Christ. As South Plainfield police searched for Reddy, who had been sucked into a 3-foot-wide stormwater drainage pipe that ran underground, they looked where they thought it might spit him out, on the other side of the road. Manley's heart jumped when they told her they found a man hanging from a tree branch and calling for help. But it was 18-year-old Kevin Rivera, who had also been pulled into the drainage pipe.
Christ.
I was completely underwater, he told ProPublica. I couldn't grab a grip to hold on to anything. I just covered my head with my arms and just tried to ride it out until I came out the other side and maybe got a little gasp of air. Reddy's body was found the next day in a wooded area, blocks away from where he got pulled in. The engineer and construction project manager was dead at 31. And during the same storm in the same state, 3 others died the same way. Fuck! And so it says here, there's no official count of how many Americans get pulled into storm drains, pipes, or culverts during flood events, but ProPublica identified 35 such cases since 2015 using news accounts and court records. 21 of those people died. Nearly half of those lost were children. 13 of the deaths happened in the last 3 years alone, and the numbers are likely an undercount since report of flood deaths often don't give details other than the fact that someone was swept away. So the point that was interesting here, and I'll just read what they kind of come to here with a denouement. What is it?
Denouement.
Sorry.
So close.
It says here.
That was super liminal of you.
It goddamn was. I'm liminaling all the way up to the top here, buddy. Despite records of horrific cases that span the country and stretch back decades, and the scientific consensus that climate change will only worsen flooding, federal, state, and local government agencies have failed to take simple steps to prevent such tragedies from happening. ProPublica found after more than a dozen interviews with government officials, engineers, and weather experts, as well as the review of documents, including death investigations, government meetings and emails, and academic papers. ProPublica is so fucking good and thorough. Officials are not surveying the nation's aging stormwater drainage systems, which are being taxed beyond capacity by record downpours, to flag openings that could pose a hazard and install grates to prevent people from being sucked in. So this just struck me as really prescient because, like last night with the historic tornadoes, which I think that 250-mile thing is like a historic length that it can go. That's unheard of. This also struck me as these are the kinds of things that are a failure of, our policies that are, our aging, shitty, just total, third world style infrastructure, just bullshit, complete policy failures left and right from on all levels of government. And not to mention, the causes of the unprecedented flooding, which is climate change and, fossil fuels and agribusiness just destroying our fucking planet and murdering it. It's really scary that these sorts of things have been just swept under the rug. And there's just one more paragraph here I wanted to read from it. It says, ProPublica found instances in which local and state governments knew about the hazard but didn't secure it. A man who died on the same night as Reddy in Maplewood, New Jersey, was among a group of neighbors who had warned town and state officials that a storm pipe near their homes was dangerous. The man was pulled into the large opening while trying to clear out debris. That same night in Passaic, New Jersey, 2 college students were sucked into the very same drain where just 1 year earlier, a DoorDash driver had been pulled in. She had been dumped into a river and survived, and they were expelled into the same river, but they died. Fucking, it's crazy. It's crazy to me that this is it's like a perfectly systemic thing that, that is telling us that, on failure on every level of government with this shit. And it's just really, man, there's another part of it of children dying here. I mean, the one bit that you read about how, this happens because the drains are at they're way past the capacity that they were sort of designed for and intended with is a good example of how, and we've talked about this previously on the show, especially during that really bad heat wave that happened, God. Right? And where the streets in the
infrastructure
West Coast
melting
was just melting. I think it was somewhere in the Northwest there was a cable car like, 'cause stuff was just, like literally like melting from the heat and
Right.
cracking. And I mean, that's in terms of then like the effects of climate change, right? Like, obviously you're going to have this stuff like the mega storms and these like big dramatic weather events, but the kind of secondary and tertiary effects of it, right, are going to be, overloading and already crumbling and already underfunded infrastructure, right?
Right.
And ultimately, like in the cases like you were describing, like obviously who that's going to hurt most are the people who need that infrastructure, right? Like, workers, poor people, people who don't have like the power and money to live in like isolated, gated communities that are all safe with all the like tip top stuff. And the rest of us are just really fucked. And, it's in terms of like combating climate change at this stage, which is obviously very like buzzwordy, and at least, there's a lot more whatever awareness about it vis-a-vis, the Council for Inclusive Capitalism or whatever, saying we need a sustainable future. At this point, we're already past that tipping point where it's not enough to simply we already know that there's no real plan to transition into like a non-fossil fuel or post-fossil fuel economy. But even if there was like a real concrete strategy to do that, that already now is going to be insufficient, because you also have to update all the other parts of the infrastructure and have them prepared to deal with stuff like this. It's a huge public works project. It needs to happen here and obviously elsewhere around the world as well. That's why we got to build back better.
Oh God!
Which and in all likelihood, and a lot of the times, when those kinds of infrastructural bills do get passed, it's just like building new highways and shit. It's never really like fixing the existing things, right? Or stuff like, again, like drainage or sewers, right? I mean, think about like way back when fucking Hurricane Sandy hit. It was now almost 10 years ago. It completely overloaded the in a number of places, but particularly in New York City, right? Like the fucking the subway system, the sewage, all the kinds of infrastructure that are underground or like at sea level and stuff.
You bring up something, and I can't believe I forgot about this because I was thinking about it so much this week. Long story short, there was a New York Times article I was reading that came out on the 6th about this a brook, like a river in the Bronx, which had been buried long ago. And it's called Tibbetts Brook in the Bronx. And New York is interested in unearthing it and allowing it to be used for drainage of accumulated water from, a lot of the shit that we learned from in Hurricane Ida and all that stuff, but to allow it to drain that into the Harlem River and down into New York Harbor so that the water has somewhere to go, right? Because that's like the big problem is that, we have built all of these impervious surfaces, like especially in cities, and the water just needs somewhere to go. So long ago, they literally just directed this entire river into a drainage ditch in the Bronx, and then it eventually kind of makes its way into, into the river system. But during Hurricane Ida, it was completely overwhelmed. And I don't know if you saw the images of the Major Deegan that was completely flooded, and there was, tractor trailers just, up to the fucking cabs in water. The reason that this isn't being completed yet, and the reason that the city is reaching a roadblock, is because the actual space where they need to unearth this is owned by CSX, the railroad freight company. And basically everyone's on board, from the city, the local, state, and federal level. Chuck Schumer's like hot on this or whatever. And CSX is saying, well, the price isn't right yet, basically. And they're holding out. And in my read of this, extorting the city to say like, hey, let's get the price up, because you need this. So they're just waiting it out. And if I'm not mistaken here, I'm just going to read here from this. It says, but the project still faces a significant hurdle. New York City has tried for years to buy the land along the former Putnam Railroad where the restored brook would run, a grassy strip next to the Major Deegan Expressway, from its owner, CSX Transportation, a railroad freight company. City officials said they are hopeful of reaching a deal with CSX through past negotiations. Though past negotiations have stalled over disagreements about the price of the land. Senator Schumer and other elected officials and community groups have previously accused CSX of holding up the project. It's not doing any good right now, said State Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz, a Democrat who represents blah, blah, blah. CSX said in a statement, We maintain our commitment to determining if a mutually beneficial transaction can be agreed upon. It's so infuriating. Again, so in this, like you were saying, Shane, in this context where a major public infrastructure project needs to be done, if for no other reason than to fucking save lives, to save people from dying, it's being held up because, a large company is just saying, hey, fuck you. We think we can just wait it out and get the price higher. And of course, that comes out of our public infrastructure budget. So, it just decreases the amount of other things we can do with it. It's really fucking infuriating. I
just dropped in the Discord if you want to look.
Yeah, who's that?
This is the CEO of CSX.
Is it?
Since 2017. His name is James Foote.
There you go.
Jim Foote.
He looks like an old Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Apparently worth $15 million at least.
At least.
Good.
At least.
Probably because of his tough negotiation style on the city of New York, etc.
Yeah, you see, this guy there's so little on him.
Mm-hmm. We would love to, help.
We'd love to have him on the show.
City, but think about the shareholder value, right?
Yeah.
Like
he's just working in interest of his shareholders,
exactly,
right? He's working on behalf of the shareholders and the board.
I've got something to sharehold with him. A couple of ideas on how to improve freight and shipping.
Here, hold on to this, and if you let go, then damn. But again, like that ties into the other thing that I was thinking about this week. Sometimes you get like little, like glimpses of clarity into how things actually work, and sometimes like the people just say the quiet part loud, but sometimes like they really fucking scream it. I don't know if you guys saw this earlier this week, but the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said, as part of her like pre-written statements, she said, and I'm going to read here from a Bloomberg article, said, Yellen says the U.S. might be the best place to launder dirty money. Again, from the Treasury Secretary, but it said here, I'm just going to read it quickly, from Bloomberg. It said, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the U.S. must fight money laundering and tax evasion at home if it wants to promote anti-corruption efforts throughout the world. The United States cannot be a credible voice for free and fair government abroad if, at the same time, we allow the wealthy to break our laws with impunity, Yellen said in the text of remarks she's scheduled to deliver Thursday. If we want free institutions to thrive the world over, then first, we must model what they look like at home. I mean, as if the United States hasn't been guilty of, do as I say, not as I do, for the entirety of its existence. Yellen is set to speak at the White House during a so-called Summit for Democracy, attended by all the world's elites. A 2-day event with attendees from more than 100 governments, along with activists, private sector leaders, and journalists.
All in the
That's democracy. Can we include that?
You can cut it. You can cut it. Just cut it. It's fine.
Just bleep it.
Uh-huh.
We'll bleep it. The Treasury chief said the dominance of the U.S. financial system in international markets and lax laws mean there's a good argument that right now the best place to hide and launder ill-gotten gains is actually the United States. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Wow. This is, yeah. Yeah, The department also said this week it would seek public comment on proposed rules requiring all cash buyers of U.S. real estate to reveal their identity. Interesting. Sometimes, this is her quote, sometimes the only thing these luxury properties are home to are ill-gotten gains. They're money laundromats on the 81st floor. And she's so right. Like that fucking stupid building, 432 Park Avenue, on Park Avenue in Manhattan, which is just like, it literally just looks like a big middle finger in like the skyline. And it's just like, reports of it fucking cracking and groaning and making weird. There was floods on high floors because like the building sways so much that like the pipes crack and things just like creak and shit. But the point isn't because people want to live there and live, fucking 1,200 feet above everybody else. It's just, they're just parking money somewhere. So they're just laundering money from abroad.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember, just because this will never leave my brain, the at the beginning of this year, there was I forget who did it, but it was Hamilton style rap about Yellen.
Oh God, weren't we just
What?
looking at that the other day? Or you
Yeah, give me give me share screen. Give me share screen.
Oh God.
I think I can do that.
Here we go. Can you see this?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Stop.
Doves on the left, hawks on the right, crosstalk in the flock trying to fight mid-flight. But here comes
I'm taking off my headphones.
voice. Never mind the mild manner policies make noise. She's 5'0", but hands a guide. She could pop a collar, she could rock a power bob. Brooklyn's in the cabinet. Damn, Janet, go and get it. 50 not for president.
Oh.
We can play the rest of it on the outro.
Yeah, it's. I know it's clearly going to be the outro.
But
Fuck.
I like Fifth in Line for President.
It's
the top,
a great
the top
line.
comment. The top comment on here on YouTube is we need a whole new series of this stuff to teach civics in school.
Yeah,
which
that's...
I agree with, and my humble request will be that if we are to do so, that we create another a series of Hamilton style musicals about various founding fathers of the United States, and specifically we create one about John Adams, and we have Paul Giamatti play him again. But he's got to do the accent, and he's got to do the raps.
Yeah, great idea.
I'm so upset.
Good day, sir.
I'm so upset. We have to close with that right now, don't we?
Yeah,
I guess so.
I'm not listening to this episode. Why would I can't do this? It's gonna be. It's too hard. It's too hard. All right, should we call it here for now, folks?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Till next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Stay cool.
Saving in the treasury, trying for higher wages for the nation, less disparity. Watch your step, there's busted glass. Janet broke another ceiling, you can bet your brass that the Lego guy is leaving less check to cash. Excuse me, Janet has a briefing and a flight to catch. And Janet, she's the first that's led the Council of Economic Advisors treasuring the Fed. She needs a 3-sided coin that always comes up heads to put the triple crown down when she goes to bed. Call the decorators, new boss in the office. Vendors and the savers watch the confirmation process. We got to meet her, now let's let her settle in and lift up your mojitos, cause she manages the men.